Okay, so when you get a sprite sheet, about probably like 90% of the time, it's going to be index color instead of the normal mode we work in, which is RGB. So before you start to do anything with it, you want to convert it to RGB. And to do that, you go to Image, Mode, RGB. And from there, if it's locked, unlock it. So you double click, right, so that it unlocks. And then you need to get rid of the background color. And so the magic wand is an easy way to do that. I would set the tolerance at about 5. And click the anti-alias and the contiguous. And then just grab the color. And you might want to zoom in too, just so you can really see that you're not cutting off any of your sprites. And then delete, so you get rid of your background. For the background picture, if you want to use one from this sheet, you can. Or you can use, one you find somewhere else. So I would zoom in. So I'm doing, view, zoom in, or you can use your navigator, window, navigator to zoom in, or your keyboard shortcut of Command plus and Command minus. But zoom in so that you can see it well, and pick a background that is differently colored than your sprites. Like this would be horrible to use with Barney because Barney would get lost, if I use the pink. So I want to use a background that's going to contrast my character so that my character really stands out nicely. And then we're going to use the crop tool, which is this one here. And if you already have anything written in these boxes, you want to clear that. Because, if it's 8 by 10 and 150 resolution, which we've worked a lot, that would be horrible with your sprites. Because if you try to make your sprites any bigger than they are, they're going to look really pixely and bad. So, anyways, pick a background that you like and crop it. And then there you go. Yeah, it'll be small, but your sprites are going to fit more than likely. Now, if you do need to change sizes, if for some reason the sprites are too small for the background or too big for the background, don't change the sprite size, change the background size. Because if you try to shrink the sprites or stretch them bigger, they're going to look really pixely and they're not going to be as nice. So you want to avoid changing the size of those sprites if you can. Alright, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to start to set this up. If you want to use a guideline, you can. Just show your rulers. And then, you can always drag it down. Try to use your background well, so you're not just working at the very bottom, but if you're doing some animation, you might want to have it coming in from various parts of the background. Guideline can help you set it up. And the very first thing I would do is kind of check out what the characters are doing and figure out what action do you want to have first or second or third, and start to lay those out in order, because as you drag them in, you're going to bring them in one sprite at a time. And that's going to throw each sprite on its own layer, which is what you need. And it's also going to number the layers. So if you do it bring them in order, when you go to animate, it's going to be a whole lot easier for you because you'll be able to tell where you are. So I'll go ahead and start. And I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool. Make sure there's no feather on it. I'll zoom in so I can really see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to grab the sprite, and then the Command key, the Apple key, is my shortcut for my move tool. See how when I click it, it switches? So I can grab him, pull him, drop him. He's actually kind of big for this background. And then I'm going to go back and I'll grab the next one. So I'll deselect. I think maybe I'll have him walk next. Well, let's see what's going on over there. Oh, he's dancing. And I'll just grab this one. So you just kind of grab them as you think you might want them to be in there. Pull them in. In some cases, like the cow, you know, if it's walking, especially sideways, you're going to put the sprite in front. But if they're standing still and they're just moving parts of their body, like this one to me doesn't look like he's actually walking. He's really just like starting to move. So I'm going to set him right on top. Maybe I'll scoot everything over actually. Set it in the center there. And then put him in here. And I'm just going to start moving them all over. And so, you know, my layers are getting numbered, layer 1, 2, and 3, so that's good. It's going to be really easy to tell what's going on. You could also name your layers if you want to. And you might really want to do that if you're using more than one character. Try to make sure you cut them out nicely. You don't cut pieces of them off. You don't have any background pixels on there. And just pay attention to what they're doing. So once you have all your sprites in there, then you're ready to start your animation. Now you could bring them in as you go, but when you do, they're going to show up on every frame that you've already made. So say you've made 20 frames and you bring in a new character, it's going to show up on all of them. The trick to fixing it is go to the first frame, turn it off. It'll turn it off on all. Then you'll go back and turn it on where you want it to go. Anything you do to the first frame, it does it to every frame. So that can be good in that it can help you out when you're trying to fix things. Hold on, let me pause really quick here. Ready to start the animation process, then you will turn off all the layers except the first one, layer 1, and you'll make frame number 2. You'll turn off 1 and you'll turn on 2. Make frame number 3, turn off 2 and turn on 3. And you just keep going that way. So that gets pretty easy, especially if you're only using one character. Now when you start adding more characters, yeah, it gets more complicated. You're starting to juggle them then. And it's doable, but it's definitely a bit more of a challenge. So you guys kind of decide what you're up for with this. And anyways, you just keep going, and till you get to the very end. And then you can play it, make sure it plays. And you can continue to repeat things. Like I can repeat the same sprites I've already used to get him to do things. And I might want to really actually have him dance both directions, possibly. You could even copy layers and rotate them or flip them horizontally so that you have them go in both directions. So you can do kind of a lot. Some of the sprite sheets have explosions and gunfires and things like that. You can do those. You're going to want to time the sprite so that it's slightly slower than you want, because when you save it for Safari, it's going to play a little faster. And try to get it timed so that you like what it's doing. Now, each day at the end of the period when you save, just save it as a Photoshop file. At the very end, when you're completely done, then you're going to do your save for web and devices. So it's just like what we've been doing for all those exercises. File, save for web and devices. And don't do that, though, until the very end. When you're ready, you're all done. This project is going to be a week-long project, so you might do one really long animation, or you might do several shorter ones. If you're doing more than one character, of course, it takes longer than just doing one character. So you guys decide, what you're most comfortable with doing.